relevant healthcare they need in this country. They've spoken about the nature of the G block, as they call it, or as they put it. It's very weak. And our attention has been drawn to the fact that they have drawn the attention of the minister responsible for health. My plea, and I'll say it everywhere, is that now that the attention of the committee has been drawn, the attention of the minister has been drawn, we shouldn't wait till any disaster happens, then we pretend to be responding to it.
And that was Honorable Kwabena Minta Akando. He's ranking member of the Health Committee in Parliament. Bayaga Fatau, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. If you could just speak to my previous question before we took that break.
Please, the question again, I couldn't get it.
So my question was that on Monday there were some suggestions. One of the panelists thought that it was time for us to increase the threshold for the payments of national health insurance. Another one was of the view that government needs to release the funds that are already collected because they are not being maximized, hospitals are not paid on time, all of that. Which would you say is the most sustainable solution right now for health delivery?
All right, so for me, I think that yes, before we make any increment or before we try to increase the threshold, we should make sure that the areas that are already old should be cleared, because if you look at many of the health facilities, they struggle a lot too, because of these challenges. There are people who go to hospital and because there are no funds, they end up paying for certain medicines that they are not supposed to pay for and all of that. Because I speak with so many people and they tell me that, I mean, when they go to hospital, the only thing they get is folder or just some few drugs and all of that. The rest are written to them to go and buy. And I'm sure the hospitals are also doing this because of the monies that they lack and all of that. So I think that government should consider paying the areas that are already owed. Then after that, we can look at the increment aspect, which is also very important. But first of all, we should look at the areas that are already owed. Then we can going forward, we can look at the increment. Right,
Fatau. Another quite radical contribution was to ban politicians from seeking healthcare abroad, and this would push them to improve the systems that are here in the country. Is this a logical way to go, or is it infringing on their rights?
It's a very critical point that was raised, because we are all Ghanaian. So, and the hospitals that are built are meant for widows in Ghana and all of that. So, as a politician, because you think you have the money and traveling outside to seek medical care, I think that wouldn't even motivate, or that will make the ordinary people feel that no, because we are not special and all of that. The people in leadership should sometimes act, so that people will see that yes, our leaders themselves are patronizing the health facilities that we have in Ghana. So now that they are traveling outside and leaving the facilities that we have in Ghana, then what do you tell the ordinary person? They will feel, that no, we are not being prioritized, or because our health facilities in the country are not well, they are not, good enough to care or to treat people. That is why the politicians and other big people are traveling outside the country. So I think that it's about time steps are taken to make sure that, these politicians should resist traveling outside. They should make sure that the health facilities we have in Ghana are well finished. They should have all the necessary equipment that would compete with other, that of other countries, so that the people, or we, the citizens, will feel like, no, the health facilities we have in our country, are well furnished enough. They have all the necessary equipment to make sure that we get all the health needs that we want. I think that is what the politicians should be looking at, instead of spending huge amounts of money to travel outside, which those monies could have been used to, fix some of those loopholes.
But thank you for that. Let me just go to Ebenezer and bring him into this conversation, because Ebenezer, some politicians think that it's unfair to even tell them not to seek healthcare abroad when they can afford it, especially if they're using their own finances? Are we being unfair to politicians? Ebenezer, can you hear me?
I don't think we've been unfair to politicians because we always say leadership by example. So as a leader of the country, and Claire, what I'm saying is I don't think we've been unfair to politicians because as a leader, you must show some example. So the fact that you have the money doesn't mean you should leave the country and go elsewhere to seek healthcare, and you leave, the health challenges that we have here unattended to. So if we say they should stop traveling outside to seek healthcare, I think it's in the right direction. Look at what's happening at Kolebu. Look at what's happening at Wheat. Look at what is happening at Testament Military Hospital. I mean, such a facility, we couldn't be able to maintain it to meet, international standard, so that even our own president and vice president can seek healthcare. It's a shame. So for me, when someone says you should stop them from traveling outside to seek medical attention, yes, I support it because we have all the facilities here. Why can't we maintain them? Why can't we get them the needed, funds, the needed equipment so that they could be well equipped to take care of us? And when we are sick, then we say, oh, we have the money because you can fly, you can fly DA or whichever flight, then you go to seek healthcare elsewhere. I don't think it's good enough. So they must show that leadership, character, that indeed they care about us, indeed they feel our pain, and indeed whatever we are going through, they also go through. Can you imagine if they are going through the same procedure we also go through before getting healthcare? They will take care of the health facilities we have in the country. If the citizens say there's no light, the whole hospital, there's no generator to take care of, theater activities or theater services, the politician will know that this is very critical, this is very important, and they will provide it. But because they don't seek healthcare here, whenever they are sick, they go elsewhere. That's why they don't care, they don't mind. They can take so huge sums of money to do other things without thinking about the citizenry. Those who, queue to vote for them before they go the power where they are today. They don't think about us because they have the money. They have all it takes to fly out to seek healthcare. They go to South Africa, America, and wherever to take healthcare. But the people there, they were also thinking about their own citizens, and that is why they maintain those facilities very well. They equip those facilities to meet international standard, so that whoever, wherever, what in your health system, you could be able to seek attention there. So why can't we also do the same to our hospital? Look at what is happening at the General Hospital. You demolish the whole facility, and for how many months now? We couldn't even get an OPD. It's a shame. Look at what is happening at Ridge. How long will it take us to conclude or to complete the phase 2? So that we could say, okay, we have a full health facility. Look at what is happening at Tech 7, day in, day out. The pressure on the medical staff over there. Go and look at it, the pressure on the facilities. Sometimes the queues. Look at what is happening. Do you think if our leaders, they seek their medical care from here, they will treat those facilities like that? I don't think so. So I'm of the view, I support that view, that yes, let's ban them, let's stop them from traveling. If they said, oh, this person is going, president is going to seek medical attention, and it is America. No, go to Kolebu, go to Ridge, go to Test 7, go to Lekma, or go to La. When you go there and you experience what they also go through, then call it no bed syndrome. You think twice before traveling because you know that, hey, this thing is very critical, and either your relative or you yourself, you may find yourself in that situation and you solve the challenge. And because we don't have such situations here, so whenever they are sick, they just move and then we allow it.
Right.
It's a shame, like I keep saying, it's a shame that we have such a country. We are so much endowed, but we can't take care of ourselves.
Right.
What's happening?
Thank you, Ebenezer. Interesting submission, but for me, I think very similarly, because I feel like politicians are so insulated from the problems on the ground that they do not feel any urgency to solve those problems. And the more we continue to protect them from those problems, they will never really appreciate the true picture of what's happening on the ground. But that also ties into the question of prioritizing spending, managing expenditure, or agreeing to mismanaging, or emergencies, exactly what is happening to the Ghanaian economy, such that we have to go to the IMF. We know that earlier today, the president directed the Minister of Finance to begin speaking with the IMF towards the acquisition of a facility. Now, how did we get here? And exactly what does it mean for a country to go to the IMF? Ebenezer, I just want you to touch on this before I move on. As you're a business journalist, I believe you can speak better to this. So what happened? Why is Ghana in this situation where we are discussing going to the IMF?
Yes, so we got here because, my dear sister, we have not been able to manage our resources very well. We keep blaming it on COVID and Russia invasion.
I was just going to ask, is it because we couldn't manage it properly, or is it a matter of natural disasters and emergencies like COVID-19 and the war between Russia and Ukraine?
Are we the only country? Are we the only country having natural disaster? Are we the only country having a natural disaster? Are we the only country that are feeling the effect of Russia's invasion to Ukraine? No, it is mismanagement. Let me tell you. So this will be, if this becomes successful, then this will be our 18th time going to the IMF since we became members in 1957. And you see, the reason why it's a shame is because the president, I mean, when he was sworn in, did indicated that as for the IMF, it's a no-no for him, which most of us believed him because we thought, yes, we have the resources. We could have been able to develop this country without going to the IMF. My dear, the moment you go to the IMF, it's like telling the whole world that you can't manage yourself. Hey, when you are eating in the morning, be careful for somebody to tell you that. I mean, like really, is that what the country has become? But we have gotten here because one, like I said, mismanagement. And then two, we have depleted our reserves.
Down to some 3.5. I think I'm having issues with your line. Sorry, Ebenezer, we're having issues with your line there. I'll come back to you, but let me go talk to Elvis, who's also still on the line. Elvis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, if you can just help us speak to that particular issue. Ebenezer's line seems to be frozen. We'll go back to him shortly. But how did Ghana land in this spot where we are going to the IMF?
All right, thank you very much for having me here.
And I mean, if you listen to him earlier, he was saying that the president did mention when he was sworn in that we're not going to go to the IMF. We also know that in February this year, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, also reiterated that Ghana is not going to go to the IMF. And in the space of just, I mean, between February and now, very few months, we're here discussing the IMF. Exactly what changed in such a short time?
And let me also take you back to 2015, where Dr. Bawumia also, in his lecture, mentioned that, in fact, the NDC's running to IMF is because of their Yentiobia mantra. You remember that?
I do remember that.
So, exactly. That was before the MPP came into power in 2017. So, meaning that the MPP has had a well-thought-out plan that, well, the IMF wouldn't be a good thing for people of Ghana. So we as a party, we as a political party, as a government, when we are given the nod to lead these people, to govern them, we are never going to run to the IMF whatsoever. Why did they actually make those statements? Because they know of the ramifications. They know of the issues the IMF, the repercussions the IMF would have on the people of this country. But indeed, because of mismanagement, we are here again going to the IMF to do la la sulala. And you ask, why are we here going to the IMF again? It is because we are unable to manage our finances. It is because we are unable to manage our resources. Now, it's unfortunate that we would have to run to the IMF to teach us how to handle our own affairs in our country. Mind you, we don't know the details of this current contract we'll be having with the IMF.
Right.
But past antecedents points to the fact that it has never been good. Already, look at the system now. Look at what is happening. People are still roaming, looking for jobs they are not getting. And in Ghana here, the civil and public sector employs majority of graduates, majority of the people of this country. It is the #1 employer of Ghanaians. So when we are going to the IMF, we should have at the back of our minds that indeed there are going to be job losses. Right. There are going to be a lot of issues that is going to further compound our problems as a people, although there may be some financial benefits and all that. But the short term, look, trust me, we are going to struggle. Even as we speak, the private sector are struggling. They are laying down, they are laying off workers as a result of bad economy, as a result of high exchange rates, as a result of high cost of fuel prices, as a result of, bad loans and all that. So going to the IMF again, well, I don't know what will be in the details, but I am very, very worried about us going to the IMF. And I pray that the team that would be going to negotiate would actually have Ghanaians at heart and not have their short-term planning at heart and then go in for anything just because they want a bailout and also come back to just celebrate in our face. Look, this is a simple analogy. We live in a country where we all know that times are tough. Yet we see our people in our faces disrespectfully mismanaging our funding. Must we be told by someone that, look, times are not good? We are blaming, we are blaming the going to IMF on external source. We are not the only country going through these external source.
Right.
There are other countries as well.
Right.
So we must think that, no, we are actually wasting the public purse.
Right.
We must cut down on our expenditure. We must cut down on
Thank you, Elvis.
Useless things that we do.
Thank you for that note. I'm just going to go for a quick break. We'll come back to this discussion shortly. We're still discussing why Ghana has gone to the IMF, exactly what it means for the country. We'll come back to that discussion. Please stay with us.
Pay your taxes and let's free God.
I'm a nurse.
I am a farmer.
I'm a spare parts dealer.
From other nations.
Charlie, things hard, I know, but no matter how difficult things get, we always try to do the important things.
By paying the e-levy,
I'm supporting government to help provide adequate health care for everyone.
Let us do this together. We deserve a prosperous Ghana.
With less than 20% of eligible taxpayers registered for income tax, the government has done significant work. Imagine what we can achieve if more pay the e-levy. Kindly note, however, that you are not charged e-levy when you make transfers from your wallet to an account or another wallet bearing your name. Be the hero Ghana needs. Let your taxes work for you. Pay your e-levy and let's build Ghana together for this generation and the next. This ad is powered by the government of Ghana, Ghana Revenue Authority, and the people of Ghana.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We're still discussing the biggest stories of the week, still on Ghana's move to the IMF. And let me just go back to Elvis to land on his point there. Elvis, my apologies for rushing you earlier, but if you can just land for me.
Yes, so thank you very much. So, yes, the IMF, the only good thing I would say is that because we are failing to reason or to think as a people, the IMF is only coming in to teach us how to think. That, hey, you don't go buying big clothes for funeral when you know you have your kids' school fees to pay. You don't go wasting money when you know the health sector needs some injection of capital. They need some medicine. They need money to keep the system running. You know, at least it will help build investor confidence and financial inflows, but it will come with conditions, as I have already indicated. It will come with some conditions. But the disadvantage, for me, I think outweighs the advantages. Maybe Because, mind you, here we are talking about the health sector, Agenda 111 and all that, school feeding program. And this may be, who knows, it is possibly going to affect these sectors. And who suffers? Again, it's the ordinary Ghanaians who suffers. These are things that we don't need rocket science to know. I mean, I know that Ken Ofori-Atta, the president, and then Dr. Bawumia, who is the economic messiah, knew very well that the IMF wouldn't save us. That's how come in 2015 down to even this year, they were all making noise that IMF is a no-no. So what has changed? Is it that they didn't know what they were talking about? Is it that they were actually just saying things just to please Ghanaians for our votes? I mean, it's a pity. It's so sad that simple things that we do, we would have to let someone come and teach us. Look, I'll give you an analogy. The health sector is struggling. Let us look at this. You are the father of a home. You come home, and then you have a special meal being prepared to you by a very good chef. You eat and you are so satisfied, you are happy, you are very full, you drink your chilled water and your beer on it. And then there are your house helps who are being fed some meals that are not right. The day that the tables turn and then they ask you to taste that meal, you will then realize that no, when I was there, I didn't try. I mean, I was taking the wrong decisions. So for me, going back to the earlier question you asked my colleagues, I would say that I would support the notion that we should not allow these our leaders the access to healthcare, to seek healthcare outside the country. They should be here with us. They should experience what we are going through as an ordinary Ghanaian. Today, you go to the hospital, and if you are holding the NHIS, apart from OPD and consultation, they give you paracetamol.
Right.
If you need any other thing, they would have to buy. And they will direct you to a nearby pharmacy to go and make that purchase. Right. What system are we running?
Yeah.
It's high time our leaders realize that, look, today they are in power, tomorrow they may be in opposition.
It seems that this IMF move literally encapsulates all of the problems in Ghana, because that is where the pressure point begins to build, and all of the issues have to push at some point, and we're here now. Let me go back to Ebenezer. I'm hoping that his line is more stable now. But Eben, it seems that every time the IMF is mentioned, everyone gets so apprehensive. Yeah. What is this thing about the IMF that creates so much fear among Ghanaians? We have heard some people say that going back to the IMF means that civil service is going to suffer more, small businesses are going to suffer, there's going to be more unemployment. Is it going to be a worse situation than we're coming out of?
So, you and I may not be aware, we don't have the details of the particular program they are going to use. That it's because of our experiences with the IMF. If you remember, during the 2014-2015 era, there was a freeze on public sector employment. And you know that we already have a high unemployment numbers. So if there's going to be a freeze on unemployment, that's going to be a huge, challenge to the economy itself. Not only that, but the conditionalities that comes with an IMF program. Like my other colleague was talking about, Washington was talking about the Agenda 111. The Agenda 111 is such a brilliant idea that if it goes well, it is good for all of us, because there will be, good health facilities across the country. But there could be an IMF program to say, no, let's put a hold to infrastructure projects because we don't have the funds to do that, or the funds available cannot cater for all of them. So let's channel the funds into something else. You see, that is why people are normally not cool with an IMF program. But before I continue, let me read a tweet from the IMF country director, Dr. Albertina Mama. He was talking about the fact that indeed Ghana has approached the fund for a program. And if I can read, he said, we can confirm that the authorities have been in touch to request fund support to Ghana's own economic program. So this means that Ghana already have an economic program, and they are taking to the fund for its support or its guidance. He says the IMF stands ready to assist Ghana to restore macroeconomic stability. You and I know that our macroeconomic stability is not looking good at all. Look at where interest rate is. This year, government couldn't go to the international market because of interest rate. We are borrowing from the local market. We are competing with the companies. AGI is always crying, high interest rates. What can government do? Government cannot do anything because government itself is competing with them. They all queue at the banks to take the same loan, the same loan that you and I, as SMEs, we may go for. Government is also looking for the same loan. So government cannot do anything about it. Is it? As part of the program, there will be safeguard debt sustainability. You see where our debt is, where our debt levels are. So the IMF program is coming to kind of guide us or ring fence to say, okay, this time around, let's look at another way to get our debt down, so that we don't always go to the market to borrow. We are borrowing too much, and then to also promote inclusive and sustainable growth. So this IMF country director in Ghana, Dr. Albertuna Mama, Jensen has reached out to them for a fund program. But these are some of the things. They are going to look at debt sustainability, inclusive growth, and then also our issues with economic program. I mean, we all have, every country has an economic program. But if the economic program is not working, there's the need for you to retool it. We introduced e-levy, it's not working. Right from the word go, we know that e-levy is not going to work. But government will not listen to anybody. And they introduce the e-levy. The IMF can say, okay, the e-levy, yes, it may be a good tax or it may be a bad tax. Let's scrap it, or let's add more to it, or let's reduce the rate. Don't also forget that the IMF has always raised a concern that our tax to GDP ratio is very low. We have one of the lowest tax to GDP ratios on the continent. And the IMF has always been recommending that we expand the tax net. So if it feels that the e-levy is another way of expanding the tax net, that is if they'll say, okay, let's maintain it. But if they feel that, no, it's not a good tax, it's a lazy man's approach to raising funds, they'll say, okay, let's scrap it. Now, when we scrap the e-levy, which other tax are we going to bring on? Are we now going to tax individual carpenters and SMEs like you and I? Where are we going to get the money to be paying those taxes when even the businesses are not running? So these are some of the reasons why people are not normally happy whenever the IMF is mentioned. Going to the IMF is not a problem. We are members of the IMF. We are members. I mean, we are members in good standing. And the last time I checked, we have an SDR quota of about 738 million. So yes, we can go to the IMF, but the conditions that it comes with. Don't also forget, during the COVID, IMF gave us money. They gave us funds.
Yes, they
took our SDR right of about $100 million. I'm not too sure about the amount. But, I mean, what did you use the money for? We went in for emergency credit fund because of COVID, and that fund was given to other countries. What did we use that money for? The World Bank gave us grant as a result of COVID. What did we use the money for? African Development Bank gave us funds because there was crisis. I mean, and we need to find ways to mitigate the impact on our citizens. They gave us funds, they gave us money. What do you use those monies for? And now we are running back to the IMF for fund support. It's a shame. I don't know, but I feel something needs to be done. Is it that, okay, we know that because the IMF is there, so let's mess up the economy, let's do things haphazardly, and then at the end, it's just not working well for me. I don't understand why we have to go there. And Elvis was saying that it's only this week or today that the president has said it. I don't think it's only, I think they have decided long ago, but they were just waiting to gauge the mood of the country first before going. Because if you remember, was it on Monday or Tuesday when...
Yes, we had some tweets from government spokesperson Gabriel Tredakun.
So you can't tell me that it was only today or this morning that they decided. No, they had this decision long ago, but they were just flexing their muscles. They were just raising their egos. They don't want to go. Professor Bokpin always asks that, how are we going to the IMF? Are we going to go in an ambulance or we are going to go in a taxi?
The sooner the better.
This time I think we are going... Now we have waited for so long. The kitty has been messed up. So how are we going? Are we going? I don't know. It is just too late. And you see, we are going there for fund support. But that fund is not going to come tomorrow. It's not going to come by the end of July. IMF discussion is going to take another week. They now have to dispatch a team.
So we're looking at a few more weeks before we are actually in an IMF program.
Going to get those funds. yes, if indeed they are going to agree, or don't forget the board will also have to approve it.
Yes,
the fund will have to approve whatever program we have. Like the country is
so we are guaranteed of help from the IMF. What we are not sure of right now is the terms of that help.
Do we have? Do you know any home solution?
No, we
exactly. So the terms of conditions and also the particular package they are giving us and the amount we will be receiving, if any, because I know there are some IMF programs that doesn't come with funds directly. They will say, okay, you use this fund to as a cushion for the reserve. So they'll give you $100 million, and that $100 million is supposed to be in the reserve just for international reasons. You know, we may be using it for the national payments and all that. Because don't forget our debt sustainability. We are not debt disciplined enough. We have borrowed so much that now everything is just, I don't know the words to use to describe it, but the economy is in a mess. We are not able to employ both public and private sector. You can't blame the private sector money because they are not able to expand. Don't forget, government is the biggest, spender. If government is not spending, how will the private sector also spend? How will the private sector get the money? How will the private sector get the jobs, the contracts to, employ people and then also pay their taxes? Government is not spending
Evan, I'm having problems with your line again. I think that the line is giving me issues and it's very difficult to hear you. The line has started breaking over there, but fantastic submissions there about the IMF program. Let me just go to Laudia to sum it up for us on the IMF so we can move to a different topic. But Laudia, looking at our move towards the IMF, is this going to solve the economic woes that we're presently facing? And what do you think the implications are based on your memory of previous programs Ghana has been through?
Okay, so let me start with what Ebenezer said, whether we are going
in an ambulance,
in a taxi or in an ambulance. I think we are already in an ambulance, so probably we need oxygen. But we all know that in the subsequent one, the ones that have already passed, it always comes with conditions. And as a public sector worker, for instance, we know that we will not get pay increase, even though we are all fighting for that.
Yes.
Here is a case that now teachers are also fighting for COLA because the cost of living is very high. I am very sure that this COLA will never come. So we are also having high increases in fuel and all that. We thought that probably the e-levy will help save the situation. Unfortunately, government refused to listen to the public that they do not want e-levy. Probably if they had listened and even reduced the rate from the current 1.5 to say 0.5, I believe that people will not even think about it. And if you have more people contributing, the more people contribute, the more you get, it will be a wider range, so you get more money. Unfortunately, government wants to do what it likes, so this is where we are. And we know, I am sure that it may also affect the free SHS, because free SHS is also taking chunk of the money. Probably they should have started it in phases, because free SHS is a very good policy, but the implementing it also didn't help. You need more money to do that. But if we have done it in phases, probably there are also people who are willing to pay for their children. They may pay, and then that can also help support it. So definitely free SHS will be affected, and then my pay will not be increased. We are stuck with the 4%, I'm sure, for some years. So let's see how it goes, and then we'll see the way forward.
But Laudia,
we have reached, yes.
You mentioned free SHS and some other policies. These are policies that were largely critiqued by people, by analysts. I remember even in the case of free SHS, even the finance minister had something to say that was contrary to the position of government. Why did we move on to implement policies that were at great variance with what the experts were saying? Isn't this like something that we were already told would happen?
Yes, the issue with Ghanaians, especially our political leaders, is that we often take decisions based on political things rather than economic or social issues. So here is a case that during campaigning for several years, we've been campaigning on the free SHS policy. If they, as they took power, if they do not implement it, the next thing is they know that their opponent will also capitalize on it to campaign and they come back. So they themselves know that going ahead with the free SHS also like that will bring problem. But if they do not do it, you know, politically it is not good for them. So it is more politically oriented than economically oriented. And that is what has brought us to where we are.
Thank you so much, Lord. Yeah. Let me come back in studio. Let's just move on. We don't have much time left. And a few days ago, we discussed the International Day of Parliamentarianism. I'm not sure if my panelists know what that means. In fact, just yesterday, June 30, every year, is the International Day of Parliamentarianism. It's observed, and Parliament is upheld as a very good system of governance. Yesterday on the program, we learned that the Parliament of Ghana usually observes it very solemnly, but our panelists were of the view that there should be a bit more awareness about that day, and parliamentarians need to start to assert their role in governance more. My question, let me go to Fatau to take this. Fatau, are you with me?
Yes.
Yes. Now, when we look at Ghana's parliament as we see it presently, is parliament living up to its mandate optimally? Do we see parliamentarians more on the side of the people, representing the people, or do we see them pandering more to government's desires?
Yes, so if you look at our parliament, you realize that many of the MPs are rather concentrating on what the government says, or doing things that would generate them, or that would generate votes for them, and all of that. So you realize that sometimes it's even, you would rarely see people or, parliamentarians trying to engage their people to know what they need and all of that. So at times you realize that there will be some projects that will be done in some of the areas, and you realize that the people would start agitating that no, this is not what we need and all of that. So it means that sometimes the people are not consulted, the people are not engaged, so that they would be able to, or they would tell the leaders that, oh, okay, so at this time we need this or we need that. And as parliamentarians, yes, apart from your work in parliament, the most important thing you have to do is to make sure that you go back to your people, listen to them, engage them, so that you'll be able to establish what their pressing needs are. You see, but in Ghana here, most of the times you don't see that, and because of that, sometimes the people feel like they're not included in governance. So because of that, they even lose trust in what our leaders are doing. You see, so it's about time parliamentarians begin to, come to a realization that there's a need that the people are involved in governance. They should make sure that they engage the people. The people should also, come out with their opinions on how some things to be done before they go ahead to implement certain, policies or whatever.
Right, interesting one there. But we know Parliament is supposed to ensure oversight, especially of the executive's decisions, so that the executive doesn't have full autonomy. But are we observing Parliament holding the executive to task?
Yes, most of the times you realize that the parliamentarians are not. It's always between the minority and the majority. Yeah. So most of the times, if not the other side, you will not see maybe members in the same side, disagreeing with, their government because of particular, policy or something. But that is exactly what they are supposed to do, because you are representing your people in parliament, not your government. Okay, that's also, it's also critical though. But I think that parliamentarians should begin to think about what they would do to help their own people, because most of the times, if not the minority, you don't see majority of the MPs maybe going against the executive. And even in parliament we have some of the MPs, being part of the executive and all of that. So because of all of those things, sometimes you don't see, the actual works of these MPs.
Interesting. Now, Laudia, I'm going to come back to you for the same thing. If you can just give me in 1 minute, so I can go to Eben. Are we seeing robust arguments in Parliament, informed arguments that will fine-tune policy and ensure that we have the best of policies that are proposed?
Said not really. It is mostly.
I thought it's for me.
Even I'll come to you right after Laudia.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm saying that I don't really think so, because most of the time when you are watching the proceedings in Parliament, you realize that it is basically pleasing their political side. You know that there is a provision that they are supposed to consult the people before they go to Parliament, and then they periodically also have to come back and they.
Okay. Unfortunately, I think your line is betraying you and has frozen over there. So let me just go to Ebenezer right away. Eben, are we witnessing arguments that are up to task, arguments that ensure that we are getting the right policies whenever they're proposed? Is Parliament in the chamber just rubber stamping what the executive thinks, or is Parliament pushing and ensuring that the people that elected them and put them in there are getting the best? Okay, I think I'm having general network issues over there with all of them. Let me check if Bayaga's line is clear. Bayaga, can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Yes, fantastic. Yours seems very clear there. We're going to try to re-establish connection with the others. We apologize for that, but they'll be right back online in a moment. Bayaga, the same question.
Yeah, so mostly you don't see, arguments in Parliament that, end up or that would produce, very tangible decisions that would help in to support the nation or the growth of the nation. And you realize that most of the times we have. There are a number of occasions that they would go to Parliament to discuss or to deliberate on something, but they will end up quarreling, fighting, and so sometimes when the honourable people see that, they feel that no, our MPs or our representatives are not being serious, because someone who's supposed to go and represent your people to discuss some important, they'll take some important decisions that will better their lives, rather go to Parliament and start quarreling. I mean, it doesn't make sense. You get that? So I think that most of the times they go to Parliament just for their own, parochial interest, and instead of, what the people really need. They don't do that. And that is why the country is struggling, because we are supposed to hold the executive, we are supposed to come up with decisions that will help the nation, but they are not doing that. Right. So it's what is leading us to all of these challenges that we're in right now.
Thank you, Fatal. Let me just go back to Eben and see if his line is much better now. Eben, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Yes. So my question was, how can we ensure that we're experiencing the right reactions from parliamentarians, especially where pushing against the executive and holding the executive to the right standard is concerned, even from the same party members? Can we come to a point in this country where we can see a member of the NDC arguing against NDC policies, or a member of the MPP arguing against policy in Parliament?
I think citizens' engagement with parliamentarians hasn't been enough, and that is why we are where we are today. Because like my colleague was asking you earlier, have you seen your member of Parliament coming to us that citizens, there's this bill in Parliament, I want to make an input. What would you think, or how can we go about it? Why is it that parliamentarians don't go to they don't go to Parliament on Mondays, so that they can engage us with the citizens? They can engage us to know what our concerns are. But whenever they go to the House, they can be able to argue on our behalf. But they've not been able to do it. So for me, I think that there should be some framework or some channel of communication between with the citizens and our MPs, so that we can demand accountability from them. Look, if we have to wait for 4 years before we demand accountability, from our MPs, then the situation is not going to change. Because 4 years, he knows that he has the money. He's coming to buy the conscience of the people. And the people will vote for him or her again. So nothing is going to change. But there should be a framework. There should be some channel of communication so that we demand accountability from them. That is what I would propose. If we are not able to do that, then the situation is not going to change. We'll be where we are forever.
Right. Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Forever. Claudia, what do you think?
Yes, as I was saying that, like Ebenezer said, they are supposed to engage us. And then even after Parliament, they are still supposed to come back and then report to us. This is something that they do not do. And then we mostly see that it is more political. There is a case that when you are in opposition and then there is a policy that you do not like, all you have to do is they walk out. Why won't they stay and they debate and then vote for us to know that, yes, they should stay and then vote so that we know that they are against this policy. But why would they stay there? Then when it's time to vote, you walk out. I think that they really need to engage the people. Let's engage.
Okay, I think the line is back to being shaky again. Unfortunately, we do not have much control over that weather issues. But thank you so much to our panelists. We have had quite a run from speaking about the IMF to health issues in Ghana and, of course, parliamentarianism. And to you at home, we are so grateful that you spent your time with us on behalf of the entire production team here at MX24 Television, who always do such a fantastic job. We're grateful to you at home. Stay with us as we have more programs coming up shortly. My name is Noong Falong. Good evening.